MASH * made Alan Alda a household name, but the success came at a steep cost. Tensions ran so high on set that some cast members stopped speaking to him altogether. One confrontation even escalated into a physical fight that halted production for 3 days. For 11 years, Alda pushed through illness and exhaustion, appearing in nearly every scene. "I've wanted to be the best writer I could be since I was 8, he once said. "When they told me I'd won an Emmy for writing the show, I did a cartwheel on the way to the stage." But behind the acclaim, he was hiding a painful truth. When he revealed his Parkinson's diagnosis in 2018, fans were stunned. "I'm doing great," he said. "You might be surprised to hear this, but I haven't said it publicly until now. I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease." The symptoms had appeared years earlier, and now he's facing one of the most difficult stages of his life. Alan Alda was born on January 28, 1936, in Manhattan, under the name Alfonso Joseph d'Abruzzo. His father, Robert Alda, was a performer, and his mother, Joan Brown, had once been crowned Miss New York. He was raised in a world of show business, but it wasn't all glitz and glamour. His childhood home was a cramped 2-room apartment above a nightclub where music would rumble through the floors as he tried to sleep. Instead of bedtime stories, Alan drifted off to the sound of jazz, raucous laughter, and the hum of nightlife. But the lively world outside masked a darker reality at home. When Alan was just 6 years old, he witnessed a horrifying moment. His mother attempted to stab his father. She suffered from schizophrenia, though at the time no one called it that. Alan didn't know the term, but he understood fear. He lived in a house where smiles could turn threatening and silence often signaled something was deeply wrong. That incident changed him. He learned to stay alert, read emotional cues, and maintain calm in chaos. At age 7, he contracted polio. It was 1943, and the disease terrified everyone. His left leg was affected. Instead of turning to an iron lung, his parents opted for a painful treatment. His muscles were wrapped in steaming wool and stretched for hours. He screamed through the agony, sometimes biting cloth to keep from crying out. His father would crack jokes to distract him, and something clicked. Alan realized pain and laughter could coexist. That insight would become the foundation of his comedic style. While still recovering that same year, Alan joined his father on tour with a burlesque troupe. His classroom became the backstage, and his classmates were dancers, comedians, and musicians. He absorbed every moment, every line, every movement. He learned comic timing, how to read a room, and how to command attention. While other children were learning fractions, Alan was learning how to hold an audience in the palm of his hand. He saw the world, its beauty and rawness, from backstage corners in towns across the country. In fact, his stage debut came even earlier. At just 6 months old, when a prop malfunctioned during a show, his father carried him on stage for a sketch that called for a real baby. He went on to appear in 17 performances before turning 4. By 3, applause felt like a normal part of life. Once, after dinner, he asked the guest, "When does the audience arrive?" The name Alan Alda didn't come until later. It was created by combining the first and last syllables of his father's stage name, Al and Da. It was easier to pronounce than d'Abruzzo and fit neatly on playbills. Alan kept it when he began acting himself. But home life continued to be anything but stable. His mother's mental illness worsened. By age 11, Alan could sense when something was off just by the look in her eyes. Sometimes she whispered to herself or burned papers she'd written. Once, she stood over his bed with a knife, convinced someone had poisoned her. They moved 11 times, fleeing imaginary spies she believed were spying through the walls. Mental illness was never discussed, not in school, not within the family. Alan quietly became her part-time caregiver. To protect himself emotionally, he turned to humor. He began performing at school during lunch breaks and filled a notebook with over 70 jokes, each categorized by the emotion it triggered. He copied radio scripts from legends like Bob Hope and Jack Benny word for word, trying to decipher the mechanics of comedy. At 13, while his mother was hospitalized, he created comic characters with distinct voices and gestures. When things spiraled at home, he didn't cry, he performed. During one school play, when his mother had an episode in front of the audience, Alan stepped in, made them laugh, and turned shame into applause. He found some peace at Archbishop Stepinac High School in White Plains, where he performed in 4 major plays a year and worked weekends at a radio station. Despite the chaos at home, he maintained a 3.8 GPA. One teacher, Father Matthew Conlin, saw extraordinary talent in him. During one class, Alan performed a challenging monologue from Romeo and Juliet so convincingly that many assumed he had formal training. But everything he knew came from life, studying people, pain, and timing. Alan entered Fordham University in the early 1950s, but life on campus wasn't smooth. He suffered from insomnia so severe it caused hallucinations, a result of the emotional strain and early trauma from polio. But in 1953, he found sanctuary at the campus radio station, WFUV. He spent up to 14 hours a week there, mastering the art of broadcasting. His time there nearly ended when he challenged a local politician about segregation on air, a bold and controversial move for the era. The station nearly expelled him. Around this time, he was told his voice wasn't strong enough for acting. A professor diagnosed him with vocal cord nodules. Alan refused to give up. He began rigorous vocal exercises, including reciting Shakespeare while gargling salt water. He trained with renowned opera singer Eleanor Steber and gradually strengthened his voice. In 1955, he won the Jesuit Oratory Contest, beating 78 students with a powerful speech on civil rights. The same university president who had once disapproved of him stood and applauded. Later that year, Alan left for a junior year abroad in Europe, a journey filled with hardship. In Paris, he was robbed of everything: passport, visa, and money. To survive, he gave private lessons to wealthy French families. Twice, his apartment flooded, destroying all his class notes. He had to redo a semester's work in just 9 days. In Rome, he acted in a version of Waiting for Godot staged illegally at the Roman Forum. Police interrupted the performance and arrested the entire cast. Alan spent 37 hours in jail before the U.S. Embassy intervened. Then came Amsterdam. He was preparing to appear in a television special with his father when he had a severe allergic reaction to stage makeup. 7 minutes before going live, he went into anaphylactic shock and struggled to breathe. Despite the danger, he performed for 42 minutes while medics stood by with adrenaline, ready to intervene. The experience left a lasting impact on him, and he later championed stronger safety regulations for performers, a cause he remained committed to throughout his career. In 1957, Alan joined the U.S. Army. Most believed his service was uneventful, but recently declassified documents revealed he was involved in a secret psychological operations unit called Project Stargate. His theatrical skills were used to develop fake identities for training missions. He learned to crack codes at a rate of 100 to 27 words per minute, making him the second fastest in a group of 346. During one night drill, live bullets were mistakenly loaded, and 2 shots narrowly missed him by just over 8 inches. He wouldn't find out until decades later that the Army had kept his name on a recall list until 1971 in case of a national emergency. His military experience deeply influenced the sarcastic, authority-resistant doctor he would later portray on MASH star. But a year before his service, something unexpected happened. In 1956, Alda met Arlene Weiss at a Manhattan dinner party. Most people remember the story of them eating cake off the floor and falling in love, but there was more to it. The dinner wasn't spontaneous, it had been arranged by Leonard Bernstein, who thought the two would be intellectually compatible. The party took place at Russian pianist Vladimir Ashkenazy's apartment. Things got off to a rocky start when Alda insulted Arlene's research and she called his acting ambitions narcissistic. Tensions ran high until a debate about Jean-Paul Sartre ended with Arlene accidentally knocking over a rum cake. They both bent down, laughed, and began eating it off the floor. That moment changed everything. Her laugh lasted 27 seconds, something he never forgot. They married on March 15, 1957, though the day was nearly a disaster. Just 2 days earlier, Alan had emergency surgery for an infected wisdom tooth, leaving his face swollen in every wedding photo. The chapel they had booked flooded the night before, so the ceremony was moved to composer Richard Rodgers's apartment. Then, 90 minutes before the wedding, their rings disappeared. Alan's 4-year-old cousin had taken them. Their marriage certificate even had a typo. It said Whites instead of Weiss, which they wouldn't notice for 25 years. But none of that mattered. They stayed married for 66 years and raised 3 daughters, despite doctors warning Arlene against pregnancy due to a heart condition. In 1962, Alda turned down a major Broadway role so he wouldn't be away while Arlene was pregnant with their second child. That choice shaped the rest of his life. Family always came first. Alda's acting career started slowly. In 1959, he made his Broadway debut in Only in America, but critics constantly compared him to his father, Robert Alda. He was often referred to as Robert Alda's boy, and one director bluntly said, "He's got his father's looks but not the presence." The remark haunted him. Between 1960 and 1962, he turned down 3 roles because they reminded him of parts his father had played. At one point, he even considered quitting acting to go into advertising. But in 1966, things began to shift. He starred in The Apple Tree, a musical requiring him to play 3 distinct characters. Despite suffering from bronchitis, he showed up for rehearsals daily, sometimes after hydrotherapy for his throat. He had a fever on opening night but performed anyway and received a Tony nomination. In 1967, Alda starred in The Owl and the Pussycat with Diana Sands, forming one of Broadway's first interracial romantic pairings. Some theatergoers sent hate mail, 47 letters in total, but Alda delivered a 6-minute monologue with 17 emotional transitions, a performance later studied in acting schools. In 1968, he landed his first major film role in Paper Lion, training like a real NFL player. He broke 3 ribs and sustained a concussion during filming. Once, he was even knocked out for 4 minutes in front of a live stadium audience, but resumed acting as soon as he regained consciousness. Then came The Mephisto Waltz in 1971, a disturbing movie about body possession. Alda practiced piano 6 hours a day for 4 months, only to find out they'd use a hand double for the close-ups. Strange occurrences plagued the set, flickering lights, freezing studios, and constant camera failures. Alda wouldn't speak about that production for nearly 20 years. Rejection continued to follow him. Between 1962 and 1971, he was turned down for 32 television roles. He made it to the final cut for The Man from UNCLE but was rejected for not being dangerous enough. Financially struggling, he borrowed money for rent. In 1967, he filmed a pilot called We'll Get By, which scored well in testing but was shelved. The contract prevented him from working for 18 months. By 1972, he was acting in dinner theater in Pennsylvania for $175 a week, living off peanut butter and sharing a room with 4 other actors. He gave himself a deadline: if nothing happened by September, he'd quit and become a teacher. No, they each has its own pleasure. Acting has an ecstasy to it. When it's going well, you're floating in the air. It's a really terrific feeling. Then MASH * came along. Alda nearly missed the audition. He was filming The Glass House in Utah and needed to get to Los Angeles that same night. His agent chartered a plane, but the pilot got sick, forcing an emergency landing in Nevada. Alda rented a car, left his grandfather's pocket watch as collateral, and drove 270 miles at high speed. He arrived at 9:17 p.m., still in makeup. The casting director was about to leave. Unprepared, Alda gave a raw performance that won him the part. But he didn't accept right away. He insisted on having every 4th weekend off to visit his family in New Jersey. The studio initially refused, but Alda stood firm. They finally agreed, on the condition that he pay for his own flights. It ended up costing him $187,000 over the show's run, a fact he never revealed until years later. Alda didn't just play Hawkeye Pierce, he embodied him. Over 11 years, he appeared in nearly every scene of MASH star. Out of 256 episodes, he missed only a handful. He powered through illness, exhaustion, and burnout. In 1978, he filmed a full episode with a 103-degree fever and intestinal flu. A medic waited off camera the entire time. In 1979, things got even more demanding. He acted Monday through Wednesday, directed on Thursdays, and wrote scripts on Fridays, memorizing up to 30 pages of dialogue daily. That same year, he collapsed from exhaustion. Without his knowledge, the crew brought in a body double for long shots. When Alda found out, he demanded everything be res hot, and it was. He wasn't just performing, he was leading. Alda wrote his first MASH episode in 1975 and soon became its creative center. When head writer Larry Gelbart left, Alda filled the void. Studio records later showed that by season 6, Alda had quietly rewritten more than half the dialogue in episodes he didn't officially write. He was known for pushing multiple takes. One scene with radar took 47 tries. He had authority, too. With the camera rolling and crew watching from the sidelines, it felt like performing for a live audience. By season 5, his contract allowed him to veto any script he felt didn't match the show's values. Because of that clause, 14 episodes were never aired. By season 9, CBS had to go through Alda for creative decisions, even though they publicly portrayed him as just another cast member. He wrote or co-wrote 31 episodes and directed 32, nearly a quarter of the series, while also leading the cast each week. His work didn't go unnoticed. In 1979, he became the first person to win Emmys for acting, writing, and directing in the same year for the same show. He even put his job on the line to get an episode about sexism aired. CBS resisted, but Alda threatened to quit. They relented. And in 1982, MASH became legendary, thanks, in no small part, to him. Alan Alda earned his final acting Emmy for MASH after a grueling episode in which he sustained actual burns on his arms, choosing to forego a stunt double. Despite the recognition, things behind the scenes were far from perfect. Wayne Rogers, who played Trapper John, left after season 3. His contract, made public in 2019, revealed that Alda receiving 80% of their shared screen time played a significant role in Rogers' decision to leave. Later, during season 6, Harry Morgan got into a physical altercation with Alda after discovering Alda had rewritten one of his key emotional scenes. Production shut down for 3 days as a result. Loretta Swit nearly walked off the show following Alda's direction of a controversial shower scene involving her. Tensions rose so high that even meals were divided. Supporters of Alda sat at one table, while others chose another. Alda also wrote and directed the final episode of MASH keeping the script under wraps until shortly before filming began to capture genuine emotional reactions. The strategy worked, though not without consequences. David Ogden Stiers was so upset he refused to speak to Alda for 6 months. The iconic goodbye message spelled out in stones, seen from a helicopter, was actually Alda's third proposal. CBS rejected his first 2 for being too politically charged. During all this, Alda was also working on films. He wrote The Seduction of Joe Tynan while filming MASH often jotting down ideas at 3 a.m. The movie earned him a Writers Guild nomination and made nearly $20 million. He revised nearly half the script during production, clashed with the director, and persuaded Meryl Streep, who had already declined 7 times, to take a role in the film. Next came his directorial debut with The Four Seasons. Studios had little faith in the project, planning only a modest release, but the film turned into a success, grossing over $50 million. Alda insisted on capturing the real seasons over 13 months, which added over $1 million to the budget. When Carol Burnett fell ill with pneumonia, Alda refused to recast her and rewrote 31 scenes instead. He even directed while quietly battling gallbladder attacks, hiding his pain throughout filming. Speaking about the experience, he said the excitement came from simply making a really good film, something he felt was rare in Hollywood. In 1992, he made a startling career move by portraying a sinister psychiatrist in Whispers in the Dark, a sharp departure from his MASH persona. To prepare, he studied therapy sessions, interviewed convicted murderers, lost 27 pounds, trained his voice to sound eerily calm, and consulted a zoologist. The character was so disturbing that it caused tension in his marriage and led to nightmares, but audiences and critics were impressed by his transformation. Though a household name for years, Alda saw a dip in visibility by the early 2000s. That changed in 2004 when he joined the West Wing as Senator Arnold Vinnick, a conservative Californian Republican, a notable shift for Alda, who leaned liberal in real life. Vinnick opposed corporate bailouts and the political influence of religious groups. Alda wasn't just a guest star. After his debut in Season 6, Episode 8, his name appeared in the opening credits by Episode 13. He ultimately appeared in 28 episodes, and the series ended with his character appointed Secretary of State, affirming Alda's relevance in serious television. In 2006, at age 70, Alda earned his 6th Emmy, this time for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. It came 24 years after his previous win, and he triumphed over respected actors like Gregory Smith, William Shatner, Oliver Platt, and Michael Imperioli, proving his enduring power as a performer. That same year, Alda received his first Oscar nomination at age 68 for The Aviator, where he played Senator Ralph Owen Brewster, a corrupt politician targeting Howard Hughes. Initially, Leonardo DiCaprio doubted Alda's ability to embody such a dark role. But after watching him act, even DiCaprio admitted he'd been wrong. Although the award went to Morgan Freeman, Alda's performance signaled his return to serious cinematic acclaim. Alda's comeback wasn't fleeting. He landed substantial roles, including in 30 Rock, where he played Jack Donaghy's father, Milton Green, a role that mixed humor with heart and earned him another Emmy nod. From 2011 to 2013, he appeared in The Big C, and at age 79, he portrayed a criminal mastermind in The Blacklist, receiving yet another Emmy nomination. He remained active well into his 80s. From 2018 to 2020, he appeared in Ray Donovan, portraying a character mired in the underbelly of Hollywood. At 86, he returned for Ray Donovan, the movie. Despite being diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2015, Alda kept acting. He didn't try to hide his condition. His tremors were visible in Marriage Story and other performances. He believed showing the symptoms openly helped reduce stigma. In 2016, Alda took a creative risk by joining Horace and Pete, a raw web series by Louis C.K. with no advertisements or media buzz. Alda played Uncle Pete, a bitter, aging bartender. It was among his darkest performances, and critics hailed it as some of his best work. When Louis C.K. faced public controversy, Alda addressed it candidly, saying, "I respect him as an artist, but he did a terrible thing." He acknowledged the complexity, both of the show and the situation, and never shied away from uncomfortable truths. While acting, Alda continued writing, all in longhand, without ghostwriters. His first memoir, Never Have Your Dog Stuffed, released in 2005, stayed on the bestseller list for 27 weeks. He revealed deeply personal stories, including one about his mother, who had paranoid schizophrenia and once threatened him with a knife when he was 7. His second book, Things I Overheard While Talking to Myself, followed a health scare in Chile. His third, If I Understood You, Would I Have This Look on My Face, focused on communication, a subject he also explored while hosting Scientific American Frontiers. From 2005 to 2017, Alda wrote daily from 3 to 5 a.m., totaling over 4,000 early mornings. In that span, he appeared in 12 films and 3 major TV shows. His books sold more than 2.7 million copies and were translated into 23 languages. Every dollar of his book earnings, about $8.44 million, was donated to the Alan Alda Center for Communicating Science, which trained over 15,000 scientists to better explain their work to the public. On July 31, 2018, Alda publicly revealed his Parkinson's diagnosis during an appearance on CBS This Morning. But rather than asking for sympathy, he explained how the diagnosis came after he read about a connection between violent dreams and the disease. One night, dreaming he was being attacked, he hurled what he thought was a sack of potatoes, but in reality, it was a pillow aimed at his wife. That incident prompted him to get tested. His symptoms weren't worsening when he went public. People had just noticed a twitch in his thumb during interviews. Rather than allow rumors to grow, he chose to speak openly. That same year, he appeared on his podcast Clear Plus Vivid with Michael J. Fox, who had been diagnosed with Parkinson's at 29. The two had a frank, hopeful discussion. Fox emphasized the importance of living in the moment, not projecting fear into the future. Alda agreed and later joined the Fox Insight Project to support research. Their shared mindset, one of resilience rather than despair, reflected Alda's approach to life. He never asked for pity. He treated Parkinson's like a challenge to be solved. He stayed active through boxing, tennis, and even marching to John Philip Sousa tunes, all based on scientific studies. Don't follow quackery, he advised. Find out what real science is doing. At 86, he was still moving, still performing, still contributing. His message was clear: the world wasn't over, and he wasn't done yet.